Well, hello. As you can see, it's not a bad afternoon. It's the aftermath of the storm they had last night. I actually live on the opposite side of Scotland to the part of it that really got battered by it, but still quite wild. Last night was quite wild when I went to my bed. When I got up this morning, my bins were all over the place, but it's a storm for you. What you're going to do? A lot of people came off a lot worse than that, property damage and all sorts. So I've just been visiting a friend. I am walking home. And when I do get home, I have a couple of cool things to show you. Ties in with some of the stuff I'm interested in, so wait and see on that one. I shall see you when I get home. Well, I'm back. It's a few hours later. I've just had my dinner, done a bit of housework, and now it's time to show you some of the things I was on about. As many of you know, especially if you've seen some of the other videos on my channel going back a while, quite interested in the Cold War period. And I remembered on the walk home that I had something in a drawer. I've had this for years actually and never actually shown it on camera. You may have seen a couple of my badges, medals and the like from the former East Germany. I've always been fascinated by that slightly odd little creation of the Cold War. It's an interesting place. The Soviets sort of took their part of Germany at the end of the war, put people in charge who were believers in their system. The whole thing endured for over 40 years. It kind of evolved its own culture separate from West Germany in many ways. I mean, I've said in the past, I owned a Trabant, East German car. They're a kind of cult thing now. So on that East German note, there we go. It's peaked cap with ear flaps. It was issued to members, not an army one, it was issued to members of something called the Combat Groups of the Working Class. Were like a workers' militia recruited from workplaces, businesses, all that kind of thing. You can imagine like a sort of volunteer reserve, but separate from the army and controlled directly by the party bosses. They'd sort of very drab overall white uniforms, the same sort of colour as this cap. I've seen pictures of them, very baggy, basic things. But the organisation numbered in the hundreds of thousands, I think, finally being disbanded when East Germany came to an end in 1990. I can't even remember where I picked this thing up. This one probably in an army surplus shop in the town where my mum and dad live. They have a lot of interesting stuff. But I saw that and I thought, oh, it's got the little East German state emblem on it, the hammer and compass badge. So yeah, just a cool little thing to display. I also have that symbol of Russianness, a genuine Ushanka made in the motherland. This is a civilian one. It's really cozy. It's just got a sort of generic round badge on it. There's no symbols or anything. Not sure how far back this one dates. 90s, modern day. I'm not entirely sure, but it is the real deal because when I got it, it had an old tag on it with Cyrillic writing and that, and my guess would be probably a description of it and the price. But yeah, I like it. I've always wanted a real one of these. There's a lot of sort of knockoffs and imitations, but this is the real deal, and that's what I wanted. It feels lovely. Lovely and soft. I also have a military one. Grey, sort of classic. You can just, you picture any Cold War era thing. The sort of stone-faced Soviet officer in his grey greatcoat, drab green uniform underneath, one of these perched on his head. So I've got the civvy one, I've got the army one, and I'm quite happy with it. As I say, I collect this stuff. It's just, I don't know. They just evolved a different culture in those days, completely separate from the West. They hadn't been exposed to all the brands we know for years. They created their own things. I mean, take this country for example, the UK. When I was wee, they used to still sell Russian-built Lada cars here. I have a memory, I think one of my uncles actually had one when I was very, very small, but don't quote me on that, because I would have been really, really small. The car would have been very old even then. I did almost buy one as my first car. That's a memory I do remember, going down to town near the coast. In fact, the one you've seen me cycle to a couple of times. There was an old fella, I don't know if he was giving up driving or what, and he was selling his Lada, and Dad went with. We very nearly bought it, but we noticed that one of the front wings had a bit of damage, so we dismissed it, only to find that my uncle, not the same uncle who owned Lada, my dad's brother, who worked for a scrapyard, actually had a pair of Lada front wings. We bought it, we could have just unbolted it, replaced it, and got it sprayed. The car would have looked like new. It only had about 28,000 on the clock, so there's a what if. Cup of tea, as I've said before, this house runs on tea. But now for something completely different, and probably something you've seen in the thumbnail and in community posts. Ah, wait, cheers. Say hello to Chip. Cute. You know what I really like about him? Turn him over. Feet! He's got little feet underneath. Isn't that just amazing? Squishy cat. He got feet. See, he's the star of an animation, and when I saw that they were releasing a squishy kind of plushy thing of him, I thought, I really want that. I really want that. I am so glad I've got him. Came in the mail, turned up Tuesday night when I got home from work. There was a note from Royal Mail saying, you have a parcel left in a safe place. And I thought, what's this going to be? I picked it up and I thought, I know what that is. So yeah, do that little face. Yeah, him, not me. So yeah. So, slightly odd video, I suppose, going from sort of Cold War military and cultural stuff to this little goober. Isn't it? Quite an odd one. Oh yeah, me having a cup of tea. Yeah. Well, I call it there. I don't think I've done anything else interesting today. It's Saturday. It's the day after the big storm that hit the west of the country. I mean, the wind here was pretty bad last night, but not nearly as bad as they got. My heart goes out to anybody who was affected by it. Hopefully things will be a little calmer tonight. But yeah, I think on that note, I will end this one. And thank you all very much for watching, as always. I might dig out one of the little plug and play things and mess around with that later, but I don't know.